Hi, I'm Emily Gabel. I'm a brow specialist, and at ASCP, I'm the Membership Marketing Manager. Today, I'm going to show you how to do a brow lamination. My client has not done a lamination before. She's done a tweeze and a tint, so I'm going to walk you through the process. First things first, sanitation is really important. So my hair is back so that during the process, I'm not touching my face at all. I'm not trying to clear anything and getting chemicals on myself. And then always wear a pair of gloves when you're doing lamination. This is not only for your client, so you're keeping everything really clean, but also for yourself because I am going to be putting chemicals on my hands. Everything is safe for the brow area and the skin around the brows, but we always want to be extra cautious when doing this procedure. The first thing we are going to do is make sure that the brow area is clean of any makeup, any kind of dry skin, anything that's in the brows that might inhibit the chemicals in the lamination process from getting into the brow follicle. So I'm using a brow primer here to clean the brows. And because my client has showed up with a relatively clean brow already, it's going to be a little bit easier. But if someone does have makeup on the brows, really get in there, clean the brows, and then go in with some kind of an astringent so that you're making sure the brow area is clean. So now that we have the brow area clean, we're going to start the lamination process. So each brand that you use is going to be a little bit different. It is really important to do your research, make sure that you are using something that is specifically for brow lamination, not for lash lifting, and not something that's not specifically for the brows. So I have done my research, I've tried a variety of products, but each manufacturer is going to have instructions that you must follow. Timing is going to be different, the process that they have you go through is different. So I am going to show you with the process that I do, the tools that I use. So this is going to give you a basic understanding of brow lamination, but always do your research. For my first solution, it is going to have a little bit of that chemical perm smell. This is perfectly okay, again, because I'm using a formulation that is safe for the brow area. I always let my client know that it could cause a little bit of stinging with the skin. This is totally normal, but you do not want to feel any kind of burning. I'm going to tweeze after I do the lamination. Each manufacturer does have different instructions for this. So because she doesn't have a whole lot of hair for me to tweeze, I'm going to do the lamination and then I'll show you a brief cleanup. So I'm using a flocked applicator. I've got my gloves on, and I like to take the solution and put a little bit on my gloves so that I am not doing any double dipping. If I come back to get more solution, I will grab a new flocked applicator and I will get more of that solution number one. So using my flocked applicator, I'm going to take the solution and start putting it on the brow area. Some people like to use a brow glue. I am not a fan of the brow glues just because I think they are more harsh on the hair. And my client has brow hair that is a little bit easier to brush up. So I am just coating it with the lamination solution. And as you can see, they are already going up. So I like to use kind of a 45-degree angle as I am getting into the arch to coat the brow with the lamination solution. And I need more solution, so I'm going to grab a new flocked applicator. And I'm being careful that I am keeping the solution on the brow hair and then I'm not getting it around the brows on the sensitive skin. Although it is okay to get it there, we still want to be careful to keep it mostly on the brow hair. So if I've got a little bit down there, I'm just going to grab a Q-tip and kind of clean underneath. So now that I've got the solution on the brows, again, this is going to vary with each manufacturer. Timing is either going to be for fine hair, medium hair, or coarse hair, and that does vary between each manufacturer. So I am going to set a timer for 8 to 10 minutes to let this process begin, and I will get the other brow going as well. You want to use a brow wrap to put on the solution, and this will help this get into the hair follicle. So with this step, it is going to be 8 to 10 minutes. So I'm gonna watch the clock, get the other brow going, set my timer, and then we'll come back and we'll see how the brows are doing. So the brows are almost done processing. While they are processing, I like to lift the saran wrap and brush the brows up and out. And as you can see, they are already laminating really beautifully. The brow hair is not fighting me. And I like to make sure that they are looking nice and smooth before I lay down the plastic wrap again. Since she is almost done processing, I'm going to go ahead and remove the solution and go to step number 2. I'm going to leave the saran wrap on this brow a little bit longer so that that brow can process another minute or two. But I'm going to remove the solution on this one. And I am using a slightly damp cotton round. Again, this is going to vary with each manufacturer. With this solution, I like to use this to get all of the solution off of the brows. And then I also like to use just a Q-tip to go ahead and get the bulk of the solution. The brow hairs are looking really smooth and beautiful. Things you want to look for while you are processing the brows. If this is your client's first time doing the lamination, always err on the side of less time. The last thing we want to do is over-process the brows. So I've gone with that 8 to 10 minute mark, which is going to be for fine hair. If we need to bump that up, if she needs a few more minutes, we could always do a little bit more, or next time we can always adjust as well. But the hairs are looking really good, so it is time to take off the solution. And you want to remove the solution in the direction that you want the hair to go. This whole time we want to encourage up and out at a 45-degree angle. Turn towards me. During this step, we want to be really gentle with the hair because it is more fragile because we have opened up that hair follicle. That's what's allowing us to take each hair and stretch it out and put it into place, but we also want to be really gentle with the hair just because they can break a little bit easier. As long as you're being careful and you're kind of smoothing the brow hair into place and you're not vigorously removing the solution, the brow hair will be fine. I've checked in with my client throughout this entire process to make sure that her skin is feeling okay. It's turning a little bit pink, that is totally normal, and as long as the client is feeling okay, you are good to proceed. So the second solution is going to be the neutralizer. We are going to leave this on for the same amount of time that I left the first solution. Check with the instructions. Some of them will have you leave it on a very specific amount of time. With this one, it does kind of have that time frame of 8 to 10 minutes, since that is what I did with the first solution. I had talked about not using glue, and as you can see, because I have brushed the brows gently, removed the solution in the direction of the hair growth, the brows are already laying really smoothly. I didn't need glue. I don't need to use anything that's going to smooth the brows out more than just using a flocked applicator and a spoolie to brush them in the right direction. So now I've got solution number 2, and I'm going to use the same kind of process that I did with solution number 1. I put it on my glove. I put it in an area that is different where I put the first solution. I don't want any mixing. Make sure you're using a new flocked applicator. We want the first solution to be completely off the brows, and in no way do we want more of that to be mixed in. With the second solution, I'm a little bit less careful and I just really want to get it on the brow hair because we want to start this neutralizing process. So I'm getting the solution on both brows as quickly as I can, going in the direction of the brow hair again. And this is going to lock the brow hair into place. It's going to close the follicle off. So now that I've got that on there, and I want to make sure that I am getting from the base of the brow all the way to the ends. Now that everything is coated, I'm going to again put some of that plastic wrap over top, set my timer for 8 to 10 minutes. With this step, you are not going to need to check in as much. Because I have kept the hairs in the direction I want them to go, I don't need to brush through them, I don't need to check on them as much, just watch the timer and then we'll remove the second solution. So the time is almost up on the second solution. So I'm going to remove the saran wrap. And I like to remove the solution with a cotton round and then a flocked applicator. So again, going in the direction of the brow hair up and out. We're just encouraging each hair to lay down and be nice and smooth. And you can remind clients right now the hairs are going to be perfectly stretched out. The reason this is called lamination is they're going to look laminated. They're going to look slicked to the face. But after 24 hours, the client can brush the brows in any direction they want. So if they want them a little bit fluffier, they can brush them up. If they want them to lay down a little bit more, they'll be able to do that as well. So just remind them that today they're going to look a little bit more intense. Towards me. And everything I am doing during this process is to encourage the brow hairs up and out and to lay down really smoothly. So you don't want to be doing anything that is going to disrupt that. At this point, if you wanted to do a wax, if you wanted to do a tint, it's a really great opportunity to do an upsell for your client. A lot of times the lamination is going to come with a wax and a tint, or you can do the lamination by itself. This client doesn't have a whole lot of hair that I need to tweeze, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a cleanup. She's got a really good brow color, so I am not going to do a tint. With the tint, keep in mind that because the hair follicle is open, the brow hair is going to tint quite a bit faster. So do not use your normal tinting time. I would say cut it in half or maybe even a little bit less that first time. So once I've made sure that I've got all the solution off, and I want to tweeze a couple of these hairs that are underneath. The other thing to keep in mind is with trimming. I personally do not like to do a lot of trimming with brow lamination. I want the brow hair to kind of have this up and out swoop going on. If you start trimming, they can look a little bit jaggedy, and because we have smoothed each brow hair out, if we start trimming and then the hair relaxes a little bit after 24 hours, they can just start to look a little bit uneven. So I personally do not do any trimming unless there is a really long brow hair. Clients can do a trim the week after if they come back to do a tweeze or a tint, or I like to do every 4 weeks, kind of do a conditioning treatment on the brows. I can do any cleanup of brow hairs that are underneath, and just check in with the lamination and see how it is doing. In general, I would say 8 weeks is the soonest that you will want to do a lamination. Each manufacturer will have different instructions for this, but 8 weeks is the soonest that I would do a lamination. This is a chemical process, remember. It is safe for the brow hair, but we still do not want to over-process the brows. So I'm gonna do a little tweezing and then I'll show you how I do an oil on the brows and kind of how I send the client on their way. At this point, I'm going to follow up with a brow oil. This particular product has keratin and argan oil in it. It's going to seal in the lamination and it's going to hydrate the brows in the next 24 hours. It's really important that you let clients know about your aftercare. 24 hours, no water, no makeup, no oils, nothing else on the brows besides what they are going to have on it when they leave. I'm going to provide the client with a aftercare brow oil that they will put on the brows nightly. They're going to want to be really gentle with the brow hair initially because we have processed them. So if you're washing your face, you can gently wash in the brow area, but nothing too vigorous. And then brushing the brows is actually really important because we want to continue to encourage the brows to go up and out. So anytime you get the brows wet, you will want to brush them. Anytime the client is putting on a sweatshirt and they're kind of bumping the brows, or when they're sleeping, you really want to encourage them that the aftercare is what's going to make this lamination last for that 8 weeks. And not only last, but give them the best possible lamination. So at this point, you can provide the clients with their aftercare instructions, with an oil. And then I like to put this oil on the brows. Again, I am smoothing them into the shape that I want because this is how they are going to sit for the next 24 hours. If you need to use a spoolie to brush the hairs a little bit, you can do so. So set them in place. You don't want to brush the brows completely sideways right now, but if you need to kind of graze the top of the hair, it'll help them to go a bit more sideways. So that looks good to me. Turn towards me. And then I just clean up outside of the brows just a bit where there might be some extra oil. So as you can see, the hairs are perfectly laminated. They're laying really flat to the skin. I've got them in a shape that I like, so that each hair is going up and out. And then after the 24 hours, the client is able to kind of manipulate that, but this way they're more malleable. If you are to do a tint, this will be the very last step you do, this oil. So if you're to do a wax, if you're gonna do a tint, you'll kind of go through your normal process of removing everything. Once you have the tint off the skin, the brows look good to you, then you will do the oil. This is the last step. The client is good to go now. You've sent them on their way with their aftercare instructions, and that's a brow lamination.